Good afternoon, Bucknoters. Welcome into What We Learned Live following Ohio State's 20-13 win at Penn State. What a thriller. Welcome to the show. I'm Dave Biddle. I'll be joined by Jonah Booker shortly. Following post-game interviews, we'll hear from Patrick Murphy and Steve Helwagen live from Beaver Stadium. Wow, Buckeyes right where they want to be now. What a thrilling game, and it was great to see Ohio State dominate the lines of scrimmage. Dominate might be a little strong, but definitely win the battles of the line of scrimmage. I mean, very good to see that. This remade offensive line, which that's kind of a little bit hyperbole there. I mean, it's, two new guys on the left side, but Donovan Jackson kicking out to left tackle. He played well. I mean, there were a couple plays that didn't go his way. That's going to happen. And then Carson Hinsman, free Carson. We learned Carson Hinsman's 8-game suspension, was basically what it was, ended today. He played really well at left guard. I mean, Seth McLaughlin has been a rock at center, and Tegra at right guard, and Josh Fryer at right tackle did a great job. Will Howard is good for a couple of stupid plays a game, but overall he continues to be a really good quarterback. He had the pick six. He had the play at the goal line where you cannot risk that. It's the stupidest play in football where even if the other team doesn't get it, they get the ball to 20. I've always said, it's ridiculous that the other team gets the ball when they don't have possession of it. If you're going to do that rule, then give the other team the ball at the 1. Don't give them at the 20. Anyway, I digress. Drink. Wait, this isn't the Bucknuts Morning 5, but we're going to pretend like it is. But seriously, I mean, Will Howard had those 2 bad plays, the pick 6, and then he should have scored a touchdown or get out of bounds. Play it safe, get out of bounds at the 2. Other than that, he played really well. And this offensive line gives me a lot of confidence moving forward because that was by far the biggest question mark. This defense, my goodness, this defense stepped up. Penn State had a good first drive, but defense stepped up and forced them to hit a field goal. And Penn State really couldn't do much after that. Huge goal line stand. I'm very, very, very impressed with this defense. Caden McDonald, it was tough to see Tyleik Williams go down. Hopefully Tyleik's okay, but Caden McDonald, as all of you know, we've all been saying it, you all have been agreeing with it, needs to play more. Man, he was in there just wrecking the line of scrimmage. Great to see that. Tuimolo Wow, coming back to his coming out party 2 years ago, had a sack, his 5th of the season. Really good job by the Buckeyes. Brandon Ennis with a touchdown. Jaden Fielding. How about Jaden Fielding? 2 for 2 on field goals. Just a clutch win for the Buckeyes. I'm just, I'm sure you guys are too. Just absolutely thrilled. Now Ohio State in the driver's seat to go to Indy for a rematch for Oregon. I mean, they're going to win out. I mean, Indiana is good. Indiana's not coming here and beating Ohio State in Ohio Stadium. Not happening. And Michigan's in big trouble. And then the next 2 weeks, Buckeyes get pretty much the 2 worst teams in the Big Ten in Purdue and then Northwestern. It'll be cool seeing Ohio State play at Wrigley Field when they play Northwestern. All right, we're going to hear from Jonah Booker shortly. So, yeah, I mean, Chip Kelly is up and down in my book. Sometimes I feel like he gives away too many free plays to the defense. What are you doing running? It's 2nd and 9. He runs to the boundary where even if the guy has some room, he's going to run out of bounds and gets 1 yard. Sometimes it just feels like they're giving away plays. He would never agree with that. He's like, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm sure he's right. But it just feels that way sometimes. But overall, Chip Kelly, designed a very good game. The first touchdown pass of the game to a Mecca. That was a great, 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 great concept right there. And for Ohio State to get down, and the Brandon Ennis touchdown was a great play call, great design. For Ohio State to get down 10-0 and respond the way they did, awesome. You get down 10-0 on the road in one of the toughest environments in college football. You don't blink, come right back with a touchdown, make it 10-7. Bam. That was huge. So I thought both running backs stepped up. I thought Quinshon Judkins had looked good this year, but I said, he's got to break more tackles. What did he do late in the game? There was a 2nd down, and 2nd and 7? He went in there, 2nd and 6. Backed up to your own goal line. If the Buckeyes can get a few first downs, they win the game. Quinshon picks up a huge first down, broke a tackle that would have made it 3rd down, gains 11 yards, first down Buckeyes, and they get a few more, salt the game away. Good job, Quinshon. I was like, is Travion hurt? Because Travion wasn't playing much. Then Travion came in, fresh legs. He looked great. Both running backs stepped up. Defense stepped up. Davis and Igbinosun, we're all like, gosh, this guy, right? Like, what? Then Bam has one of the better interceptions you'll ever see. This game was crazy. Will Howard looks like he scores a touchdown. No, it's a fumble. And then it looks like Penn State's definitely going to get a touchdown. No, it's an Ohio State interception. Just absolutely crazy. Jermaine on Facebook, how is Tyleek? We'll find out. I don't know if they'll know for sure, but when we get Patrick and Steve on after the game, we will ask them that after the game. You know what I mean? After post-game press conference. Now, Coach Day doesn't like talking about injuries, but we usually know if it's serious or not, right? I mean, like they said when Josh Simmons got hurt, it's like, doesn't look good. If they're like, well, we'll see, that usually means it's not season ending. So let's just hope it's not season ending. But I tell you what, hopefully we get Tyleek back, but like Caden McDonald is a dude. He was wrecking the line of scrimmage, and you're playing well when you go over to the sideline and everyone on the sideline, your teammates, your coaches are smacking you on the helmet, like, plus, like, great job. And Caden McDonald's like, yeah, damn right. Yeah. He was like agreeing with them. That's right. It was funny seeing like everybody on the sideline come over to him like, good job, big boy. He was like, yep, that's what I do. I eat their lunch. So just absolutely huge. Now, I love how they talked about after the game, like, oh, Ohio State is still alive. It's like they entered this game with the second best odds to win the national championship. Okay, so they were not dead entering this game. It's not like they came back to life. They were favored to win this game, and they won. And another win in life is when you have Jonah Booker. And I happen to have J-Book on the show. Welcome, my friend. Good to see you.
Dave, I am fired up right now, man. I am so happy. I am fired up and it's not just because that they won, Dave. It's how they won. The trenches, baby.
Mm-hmm.
The trenches showed up and they rose to the occasion. And my goodness, where has Carson Hinsman been the entire season? Like,
his 8-game suspension was lifted. Right.
What did we say yesterday on our show, Dave? Tegra Shabola has to play his best game, and Tegra was outstanding yesterday. And you know what, Dave? What really got me fired up too is what was the narrative that we talked about all week? Rotate, rotate, rotate. Why? Because in the fourth quarter, you got to have fresh legs. That's what they did. They rotated today, Dave. I can't wait to see the PFS snap counts because there was a lot of rotation. And the beautiful thing about it is when the backups came in, they played outstanding, Dave. They played outstanding. And you had those fresh legs in the fourth quarter. And that's the way to freaking bow your neck, Caden McDonald, in the middle, on the goal line, War Daddy in the middle, and he rose to the occasion. And when it's next man up like that, and those guys perform to that level, Dave, it does a lot for the confidence for this program. Like that right there. Remember that one time where Urban Meyer said against Michigan State the year that we won the national championship and the year that the program really took that next step. He said at Michigan State on the road when that team opened their chest up, and that was the moment where they took that next step. They opened that chest up and they showed that heart. That's where I'm at today, right now with this Ohio State team. You saw the fire. When the offensive line's like, keep running that ball. Keep running that ball on the timeout. That's why I'm like, let's go. I'm on my feet, man. I'm scaring the dogs in the house. I'm like, let's go. That's what I've been missing that, Dave.
My wife is a huge Buckeye fan. Like, she has 2 degrees from Ohio State, including a master's degree. Was almost like, come on, calm down a little bit. When Donovan Jackson's like, let's go. Like, and Donnie's usually Donnie's a pretty laid back guy. And like he's playing left tackle. He's like, I'm just killing this guy over here. Keep running over here. I was with you, man. I'm like supposed to be just like, I'm a neutral journalist. And I'm down here in the man cave in my office, and I'm just going nuts. Like, I love it. Look at the five. It's not like they dominated total yards, but check this out. 358 total yards for Ohio State, 270 for Penn State. Rushing yards, 176 for the Buckeyes, 120 for Penn State. Donnie Jackson at left tackle. Carson Hinsman at left guard, and then the right side stays the same, including the Rock.
Yeah.
Seth
I mean,
McLaughlin. I feel good about this offensive line moving forward, my man.
yeah. I mean, that I think they found their unit that will do well throughout the season. They're only going to get better from here. And the thing about it is, Dave, I think going forward, you may see the passing attack take a step back because they realize that as as well as they play today, they still have a little bit of their flaws when it comes to pass pro. But what you found is you got some junkyard dogs up front who's going to be able to run the football, which for Ohio State, you got two outstanding running backs. And when Will Howard can give you that zone read like he did, like critical on third down, what do you have like three times on that last 2 or 3 times in that last drive where Will Howard kept it the football, he was able to pick up the first down. When you have that type of element, this might be a heavy rushing attack going forward. And when you control the ball 31 minutes, 23 seconds, it's helping out your defense immensely. Like 40 carries on the road, Dave, and you were knocking on the door for almost 200 yards rushing in a top 5 matchup. I mean, you get the ball down on the 1 yard line and you just absolutely just stuff it down their throat. It was beautiful to see, man.
It was, man. And like Penn State had that opening drive. Ohio State held them to a field goal. Penn State takes almost half of the first quarter off the clock, and then they get the pick six. It's 10-0 like that. After that, Ohio State outscores them 20-3. Okay,
And
I'm just so impressed. And like, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and if we're being frank about it, Ohio State they dominated them in every phase of the game. Like it really shouldn't even have been a 7-point game. You take into account Will Howard's fumble into the end zone. They're going up 2 scores, probably get ready going to halftime. You're getting the football back. The Jeremiah Smith slowed down, and that should have been another touchdown right there. The defense, they suffocated them. I mean, they couldn't do much. I mean, I don't even think a Penn State wide receiver got more than 25 yards. I mean, Julian Fleming's over under prop bet was like 16 yards catching, and I don't even remember seeing Julian Fleming on the field here. So kudos to the secondary there. I mean, Nick Singleton had six catches for 54 yards, the running back, so he was the leading receiver. The tight end had the most rushing yards for 47 yards, and 35 or 32 of that came off that one Wildcat run. So Jim Knowles and his defense get a lot of credit the way they played today. I know we've been hard on them, and rightfully so, because they haven't played up to their potential. But you go in there to a top 5 environment with this type of game that's on the line, like we talked about yesterday. There were so many ramifications with this game. You're talking about not making the potential playoffs if we lose this game, and the way they showed their heart, I couldn't be more proud of this football team today, Dave.
If your tight end is your leading rusher, that's not good. And then your quarterback is your second leading rusher. It's not even Prebula, Aller. I mean, check this out. I'm so glad you brought this up. So, Penn State's got 2 really good running backs with Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton. Both those guys are good running backs. Okay, combined, 18 carries for 42 yards. 18 carries for 42 yards for Allen and Singleton combined. That's 12 for 27 for Allen, 6 for 15 for Singleton. So Ohio State's defense, you're right. I mean, Jim Knowles gets a ton of credit. Ohio State's defense gets a ton of credit. And going back to the offense and how Ohio State dominated the line of scrimmage, one of my favorite plays of the game is when after the goal line stand, Ohio State's got the ball like backed up to the – I'm like, just get it out. Just get a couple first downs here. Yeah. They do that quarterback sneak on first down to get 4 yards. So I'm like, dude, if you're getting 4 yards on first down on a quarterback sneak, you're just you're killing the guys up front.
But you know the beautiful thing about it, Dave, is let's talk about the young guys. Jeremiah Smith, big plays. Brandon Ennis, big plays. Caden McDonald, big plays. Jelani Thurman, big plays. Carson Hinsman, sophomore, played outstanding. Tegra Shabola, young guy, played outstanding. And then you just keep going down the line, like Caleb Downs, sophomore, played outstanding. I don't think he even missed a tackle. And so Jermaine Matthews came in there, played great. And that's what we were talking about. Like, you got talent. just rotate and let those guys play, those younger guys, and they did that today. You saw a lot of those younger guys get in the game, and they made their presence, felt out there. And kudos to the coaching staff for saying, hey, what we were doing wasn't working before. The fans were restless. The fans got on them and said, you guys need to rotate. Ryan Day uh, said it several times this week that we need to rotate more. So we were fresh in the fourth quarter, and he was absolutely right. He nailed it. The defensive line rotated a lot today. Kenyatta Jackson, I thought he made his presence felt. Caden Curry got some stops in there as well. But yeah, great job by those young guys coming in there in that type of environment and rising to the occasion. That's a gritty team win there, Dave.
I just feel so good about the season now. I mean,
Yeah.
that they, certain things that were a concern, they weren't erased today, but everything that was maybe a concern, was a strength today. And things
Right.
they didn't throw the ball as well. I mean, we know they're going to be able to throw the ball. I feel so good about special teams were good.
Yeah.
I just walk away from this, and you're right. You nailed it earlier. It's a 7-point win that feels like a 21-point win.
Yeah, it definitely should have been a much bigger win, but how they won, Dave,
Right.
that shows a lot of character. I mean, that as a football program to be able to pull out a win like that on the road, you can really build on that, because when you pop on that tape tomorrow when they get back to Columbus, you're going to be able to point out to say, hey, look what you did. You went into one of the most hostile environments in a top 5 road matchup, and you guys played your absolute hearts out. So there is a ton to be able to build off of. I tell you what, if they're able to run the football like this and play sound defense the way they did, Dave, they're going to be a very, very tough out for the playoffs.
I know, man. I was saying Quinshawn, I really like Quinshawn, but I was I said this at the top of the show. It's I need to see him break more tackles. What did Quinshawn do right after that? The aforementioned quarterback sneak. Guy had him right there. Should have been a 3-yard gain, maybe. He makes the first man miss, first down Buckeyes. So
yeah,
everything's coming together. It just,
hey,
Carson Hinsman, the 8-game suspension. Go ahead.
I was going to say, everybody. I made the comment yesterday. Urban Meyer was on the Tim May show, and he said, this is it. You got to have this game. This is a Super Bowl type of game. You must win it. The stakes are way too high. Tom Allen's going to throw everything into the kitchen sink at this offensive line to try to make them fold. And Urban Meyer's response, I'm going to run Will Howard 15 times. I don't give a damn if he gets hurt. You don't worry about injuries. Will Howard, 12 carries today.
Hey, he's taking pages out of Jim Tressel's book, Urban Meyer's book. Always a good idea to take pages out of those gentlemen's book. By the way, Oregon has the ball. Michigan punted right away. Oregon has the ball. They are about at midfield. Oregon with the ball, still nothing.
Right.
Cody Simon played well. I've been critical of the linebackers. Cody Simon played well for the second straight game, my man.
He played well. He did. And I'll tell you one of the other big surprise. I was of the mind frame that you were probably going to have Jalen McClain out there. I didn't think we were going to get Lathan Ransom today as well as he played coming off that injury. I mean, the kid was in a boot last week, Dave, all week. Yeah. And you guys were over there at the facilities watching practice, and he didn't look healthy. He was kind of limping off the field last week. And I don't know if they gave him that good old cortisone shot in the foot before the game or what, but I thought Lathan Ransom, for the most part, he did that big 6'6" tight end, did get a over the top grab on him that they were fighting for. But for the most part, I thought Lathan Ransom played really well coming off an injury when we really wasn't expecting him to be a key contributor in this game. But lo and behold, he gutted it out and played really well.
I know Indiana's really good, but I'm not worried about Indiana coming in here and Michigan's going to get smoked. If Ohio, Steve Helwagen said, he's they beat Penn State. We're making our reservations for St. Elmo Steakhouse.
Hey, you know what? Get you the shrimp cocktail, Dave.
That's right. Now, do you want to jump off now? Or you want to stay on for about 5 more?
I can stay on for about 5 more minutes.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Jay Book. I appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions for Jay Book before we get him out of here? Gentlemen's staying a little extra. Gosh, that was so much fun. That was so much fun. And for it to start off 10-0 and to end that way. And by the way, that last play where Will got down, he could have scored a touchdown on that last run.
He could have. Yep. He was gone. And they didn't panic. When they went down 10-0 right there, I thought Chip Kelly called a really good game, getting the offense settled down. A lot of the misdirections, a lot of the mesh routes were killing Penn State there. And I will say this, one of the other really big things, Dave, the offensive line never false start in that environment. It was loud. They were going silent count, and you never got a false start from that offensive line. So yeah, I think that's going to be something to keep an eye on with Tyleik Williams going forward, seeing what that injury is. But if he's out, I have all of the confidence in K-Mac. I think he can be an absolute star here the way he played. I mean, I can't wait to watch this all 22 because he blew that center like 2 yards in the backfield on the goal line, and he did it repeatedly. It's like JT was looking at him, was like, "Hey, do that again."
I mean, Jay Book, you played football your whole life, including in college at Ohio University.
Yeah.
Like when a guy is making plays to the extent where when he comes off the field, everybody on the sidelines going and like hitting him on the shoulder pads, hitting him on the helmet, and like shaking him, like, "Way to go, big guy!" Like it's like I thought he was playing well. And then the entire sideline is like congratulating Aiden McDonald. Dude, he was blowing. I can't wait to rewatch the game. You talk about the all 22. I can't wait to rewatch the game and just focus on 98. Just collapsing the line of scrimmage. He is a beast.
Oh man, he played outstanding. He came in there at the 330 plus and just absolutely blew that center off the football, man. And it was a great play call on that 4th down because you knew they were going to try to go to that tight end there. In order for Lathan Ransom to know to jump outside immediately and you bracket him, that right there is 100% film study. To say, hey, in their goal line situation, when it's that gotta have it type of moment, they're going to run this tight end into the flat there. And they were just on top of it, Dave. And I was looking at that defense and I was like, come on, Jim Knowles, we need one. We need one. We gotta have the stop. Like we cannot continue this trend of not getting the stop in the 4th quarter. It got a little dicey there once they got the ball inside the 5-yard line. And then you know what, too, Dave? Denzel Burke giving it all his effort to get that tight end down, where he could have just given up on the play, and the tight end could have ran that ball into the end zone. But Denzel Burke gave a lot of effort to get that guy down right there inside the 5-yard line, which helped them get that goal line stop. So give him credit for the effort.
And we'll get you out of here on this. I mean, and you can say anything else you want to do before we get you out of here. But Kenyatta Jackson is another guy I thought really stood out. Caleb Downs, he was my pick to be player of the game. Caleb Downs, but like Kenyatta Jackson is another guy coming off the bench, had every reason to maybe like transfer after this year or transfer after last year. Didn't. Like your thoughts on Kenyatta Jackson before we bring Steve Helwagen in?
He continues to stack games, Dave. Kenyatta Jackson's just playing outstanding. Every time he gets in, he's flashed. We've been campaigning for him and Curry to get more snaps as the season progressed, just so that you can make sure that you're keeping JT and Sawyer healthy. And the one thing about him is the moment in the spotlight is not too bright for Kenyatta Jackson. Every time he gets in there, he makes a play. But before I get out of here, Dave, we got to give a kudos to fielding. 2 critical field goals made there. Special teams have been very, very shaky throughout the season, and he's on the road, and he made 2 critical. It's almost like he kicks better on the road because he nailed that one in Oregon, and then he gets up here to Penn State, and he nails 2 of them. So, hey, kudos to him.
Now, we'll hear from Patrick Murphy later, but now Patrick doesn't have to worry about the football team stealing one of the soccer players off Ohio State's team. He was a little concerned about that. So, Jay Book, thank you so much, my friend. Great stuff, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I know you will.
Hey, man, going to go pour me a cold one and fire up the grill and watch some football for the rest of the day. But I'll talk to you next week, sir.
Thank you. He is Mr. Jonah Booker, and he always comes strong. And, man, that was a lot of fun. And Looking forward to bringing in my guy Steve Helwagen live from Beaver Stadium. So my first question is, have you made reservations for us yet at St. Elmo?
Not yet, but we did talk about it if they got through Penn State, that maybe we would.
You didn't say maybe. You said if they win, you're making reservations.
Yeah, I am in fact not at Beaver Stadium. I came down with COVID.
Oh, no.
And because I was riding with Pat, and his fiance is a cancer nurse, we determined that it would not be good for me to be in the car with Pat, who could then pass it on to his fiance, who could pass it on to a cancer patient. So I just came down with it yesterday. So all these decisions were kind of made, at the last second. I guess there's a school of thought that I could have gone and worn a mask and kept to myself and whatever, but maybe ridden in a different car. But at any rate, I missed it. I've been to Penn State 14 times, and I missed the game there in 2001. My wife was pregnant and missed it this week because, very honestly, I'm not 100%. So I'm here. I watched it with my wife, my son, and I have to tell you, this was what we've been looking for. This was the Ohio State football team we've been looking for all season to finally show up here in week 8 and to go on the road. If only the first top 5 win on the road, as I think Gus said, since Texas in 2006. That's a long time between drinks of water. And man, if you saw the opening when they came to Gus Johnson, I mean, he flat out laid it on the line. He said, and I've been preaching this all week, like the losing coach at 4 p.m. today is, got a lot of explaining to do, Lucy, because he's now 1-10. He is 1-10 against Ohio State, and Ohio State day improves to 3-6. It's actually 3-6. He was not 2-7, as they were saying on the broadcast. There's a discrepancy there if you want to use the AP top 5, or, a lot of people at midseason switch from the AP ranking to the college football playoff ranking. But Michigan was actually ranked number 6, I believe, in one of those years in the AP when they beat Ohio State. So that doesn't, it's a loss, but it doesn't count in the top 5 record in my book. If you want to be consistent and start with the AP, the start of the season, and go all through, he's 3-6 against AP top 5 teams in his career at Ohio State. So, and this, first one on the road for him. I mean, obviously, since they haven't had one as a program, Urban never had one. And, Tressel did in 2006 at Texas, number 1 versus number 2. And honestly, this was a program-defining win for Ohio State. Now the question is, what do you do with it? This can't be the high water mark. As great as this can't be the day. It's like Michigan State, the win they had there in 2014, which the 10-year anniversary, that's coming up this Friday. They actually went on from that and did even bigger and better things after that. That's what this team has got to now do. It's got to challenge itself to continue to get better. And there were a lot of mistakes in this game. But when somebody needed to show heart and physicality and knock people off the ball, they had 58 yards on that last drive, picked up 4 first downs, 5 minutes and 13 seconds. That's what Michigan does to Ohio State the last few years. Ohio State just did it to Penn State.
I mean, it's just, if you wanted to be a physical team and draw it up perfectly, we're going to get a 4th and 1 goal line stand. And then we're going to come down and we're going to get 4 first downs when all we're going to do is run the ball, and we're going to salt the game away. Great job by Ohio State. And even if they would have won in a shootout, I'd be happy right now that Ohio State won regardless, right? If it was like
1-point win.
But like Ohio State won, other than like the 1997 game that was a shootout in Happy Valley where Penn State came out ahead of Joe Germain and the boys. Joe Germain balled out that game. For them to win like this, Steve, for the offensive line to do what they did, for Ohio State to dominate both lines of scrimmage, like I just could not be more – I'm obviously happy with the win, but what this means going forward for Ohio State is absolutely huge.
Yeah, I think Donovan Jackson obviously had some great plays and obviously had the 2 sacks he gave up to Abdul Carter that kind of stuck out like a sore thumb, but man, did he battle. And it seemed to me they ran behind him and Hinsman quite a bit. And you got to be just happy for those guys to hit a benchmark in their careers. First career started at new positions, and both of them, I thought, excelled. I guess the coach's tape will tell us, but I think you've got your starting lineup going forward. I don't think you deviate from this plan right now because you have stumbled into it. And, and I know Jackson doesn't have the 70-inch length, or the reach, that you want on an offensive tackle to get into a defensive end. And he did struggle with some of those speed rushes from Abdul Carter today, and he'll continue to struggle. It's going to happen. They're going to need to help him with a wing back, tight end, or a running back to help him. But, when this team needed, Jelani Thurman, he was there. When this team needed Davison Igbinosun, he was there. When this team needed Caleb Downs on that third down tackle of Tyler Warren to force the field goal, I mean, they were going to go down and score a touchdown there and tie the game. And he almost single-handedly forces a field goal there. When this team needed JT Tuimoloau to finally track down a quarterback, he was there. So a lot of unsung heroes in this type of game beyond just Will Howard. And Jeremiah Smith, he didn't have the headline plays, but, man, he had 4 great catches, 55 yards, and he helped them move chains, and he helped set up other things. How about fielding? He's taking a lot of shit from a lot of people because he can't hit field goals. Well, geez, he was only 2 of 3 for the season coming into this game. Hit the career-long 48, I think, was there early on, and then, or I guess in the third quarter, or that was in the first half. And then the other one, to really kind of help them pad the lead there in the second half. But, I just a lot of people contributed to this game. It wasn't just a handful of people. Caden Curry made some great plays, both on defense and on special teams. He went down and made a couple great plays. I'm just going off the top of my head here. So many people. Travion Henderson with a great block to Spring Howard there on the last drive. I mean, it was a total team effort, and this was what we've been looking for. I was on 92.3 radio up in Cleveland this morning, and the host, Garrett Bush, says to me, he goes, something just is missing with this team. And I said, Garrett, you're right. All the expectations, the $20 million coaches, the $20 million players, all this other stuff, the past failures, 3 straight 2-loss seasons, 3 straight losses to Michigan, no Big Ten championship since 2020, on and on and on and on. It was all on the line today. You were on your way to have a 4th straight disappointing season if you lost the game today. Now the potential is still there for you to go on and do some extremely big things here down the stretch. As those guys said, Ohio State's a legitimate national championship contender, ... Purdue, Northwestern, Indiana, Michigan. They win those 4 games. They go to Indianapolis automatically. And, what a glorious run it could be to have another crack at that apple. I'm watching Oregon right now. They're up 7-0, but Michigan is driving on them. Donovan Edwards is running like a man possessed here. It's 1st and goal for Michigan here, late first quarter, down 7-0. So this game here, I didn't like Oregon as a 14-point favorite. I just said, with all the emotional games that they've had, and they laid it on the line last week and blew Illinois out of the water, and now everybody's patting them in the back, and they got to go cross country to go play Michigan 7 days later. And not that I think Michigan's great or anything like that, but Michigan's defense is pretty good. So, we'll see if they can keep from getting knocked out of the box here in the second half. But yeah, Dave, I think as an Ohio State fan, this was what we were looking for in June and July when we were lifting this team on a pedestal and thinking it could be great. They finally achieved greatness here in week 8. And I think that, now the challenge is to stay at that level and to continue to play at this level and take care of Purdue next week and go to Chicago. And, man, what a scene that's going to be at Wrigley Field when Buckeye Nation takes over Wrigley Field, 40,000 strong, for the world-famous Ohio State Buckeyes. Haven't heard when the Purdue game is yet. I presume it's going to get a good treatment after a win over Penn State. It's going to be in one of the 3 network spots, I would think, unless they have to put them on Big Ten Network. They either have to put Purdue or Northwestern on Big Ten Network, I think. So I don't know what's going to happen there. But
the Carson Hinsman situation is one of the most interesting situations. You and I were talking about
forgotten Buckeye.
I was like, don't want anybody to steal my question. Okay.
My phone is right here, and one of my friend who's a football coach.
God.
He says,
say hi to him.
I want to know what the all 22 tape says about Carson Hinsman, and that's all he said. And I texted back and I said, it's probably going to be pretty good, don't you think? And then he said, where the bleep has he been all bleeping year? Was kind of the retort, kind of like ... This is coaching malpractice that the guy finally got to play in week 8, and they lucked into Carson Hinsman being ready to go for him in week 8 at a new position. And seems like it's good. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've said his 8-game suspension was lifted today. I'm not even joking. He was suspended for the Cotton Bowl. I don't care what they say. There's no way. They didn't even do all their practices because they didn't care about the Cotton Bowl, and they were trying to recruit. And at first I was like, how are you not going to do all your practices? And then when I heard from some of the people inside, it's like, listen, we had to recruit, we had to do all this stuff. We missed a couple practices that, they didn't practice 15 times. Anyway, the idea that Carson Hinsman didn't start the Cotton Bowl after starting all 12 games because he had snapping issues in practice during bowl prep is complete BS. We know what happened. He went on that podcast.
Oh my God.
And said a little too much. And
Michigan
now the 8 games, he was suspended for the Cotton Bowl, basically suspended for the first 7 games this year. He played. He wasn't really suspended. Now, I tell you what, you nailed it with Donovan Jackson. Is Donovan Jackson your prototypical NFL left tackle? No. As a senior at Ohio State in college, can he be an effective left tackle? He showed today he sure as hell can be.
He gave up 2 sacks and made a ton of money.
He did. I mean, he wasn't perfect, but still, he played well overall. And late in the game, he was just leading that rushing attack, and Carson Hinsman played well.
Michigan just completed a great touchdown pass to Morris for, they're going to tie it here on the extra point. So, yeah. Well, I mean, what do you want? I mean, I guess you want Oregon to be number 1 when you play them again.
I always root against Michigan, even when it makes no sense. Like the year, it was 2015 when Michigan State had that win over Michigan, where if they had that blocked punt, guy dropped the punt, and then they blocked it, and Michigan returned it, or Michigan State returned it for a touchdown. It was insane. Mm-hmm. I should not have been rooting for Michigan State in that game, because if Michigan would have won, then Ohio State would have went to the Big Ten title game that year. But I don't care. I still think it's funny, even to this day, that Michigan State won that game. I always root against Michigan. I grew up in a household, Steve, my dad would wear the shirt. It's not everybody has the shirt, but my 2 favorite teams are Ohio State and whoever is playing Michigan.
Yep. Hey, how about that defense? Jim Knowles, after Oregon, everyone flamed his ass. And has he pitched 2 shutouts in a row? Well, not exactly shutouts, but they just held Penn State to 13 points. And 2 stops inside the 2-yard line, 1 the interception by Igbinosun. When that play went off, you're kind of obscured when the receiver goes into the sideline and you can't really tell what the hell happened. I thought the ball was on the ground. Lo and behold, they show the slow motion. And on the very first replay, you see he has his foot down and he's got firm control of the ball. And you're like, that's an interception. And if it is, then they just blew a shot to score, just like Ohio State did with the Howard fumble. And, I mean, what a crazy game with all these, different things that happened. And then I think Caden McDonald had the 3rd down stop at the 1-yard line. And then the 4th down, when I saw that, I believe it was Ransom or somebody had Warren locked up at the goal line, couldn't possibly throw. I figured that was who they were going to, and he was just the decoy. And they had nothing. Aller's throws in the end zone were terrible. He could have been out there against the air. And he wasn't going to complete any of those passes. But, oh, well, 0-2. There you go.
Yeah, Jim Knowles. I'm glad you mentioned that. Jim Knowles, he's like, how you like me now?
And Chip Kelly after last week, everybody was flaming Chip Kelly's ass after last week. Boy, did he call a perfect game. Well, not necessarily a perfect game, but he called a great game. He kept Penn State off balance. That was good.
He did. He did a great job. All right, Steve, we'll get you out of here. We're going to hear from – I hope you feel okay, man. Thank you for joining me despite being under the weather.
Dave, I'm on cloud 9 over here. I don't have to ride 6 hours back from State College tonight. I
thought you were there. I didn't even know this. As you said, it happened last minute. How do you even know, when I'm under the weather, you just had a home test? How do you even know you have COVID if it's not serious?
Yeah, they have home tests now at CVS.
Well, I know they have home tests, but you just happen to have one at home?
Yeah, we went to CVS.
I had a cold last week. I got it right before I did, during the game last week it came on, but my daughter had it. So I just figured I had a cold. I never did a home test. Maybe I had COVID last week.
Yeah, it's going around. All right, man. Be good.
All right. I hope you feel well.
Yep.
Steve Helwagen. Live from Pataskala, not from Beaver Stadium. We're going to hear from Patrick Murphy soon, though, from Beaver Stadium. The Giant Erector set, where they will go now 8 years without beating Ohio State. 9 years? 8 years. They won in 2016. There we go. Let's get to some of the comments and questions before we hear from Patrick Murphy. Travis on Facebook. Caleb Downs is really good at football. Yeah, and I know it. He didn't do anything today. I also like that they're using him as a punt returner because I think eventually that's going to help. I feel like you should get your best football players on the field as much as possible. He's one of your best football players. Yeah, there's something different about him when he triggers and just the way he tackles. There was a play earlier in the game where, Tyler Warren got up a little shaky. He went in and just smacked him pretty good. Completely clean, got him low. Bilal, on YouTube, I still think we're going to need a deep ball at some point if we're going to win a natty. They showed it a little bit last week, and we had some questions about this. The deep ball that Will Howard threw to Jeremiah Smith, I think that was a really good pass from Will. I think JJ just lost that one, and that'll happen. I don't know if he lost it in the sun or sometimes you just get discombobulated. Maybe he couldn't. Looked like JJ lost that one. Saw at the very last second, but I thought that was a very good pass from Will. So again, that's not going to be anything Ohio State that's going to be their strength, but I think they can do it. Excuse me. And I do agree. They need to be able to have that in their arsenal to win a national championship. Well, you can beat Penn State in a slugfest without the deep ball. But yeah, I agree. I think to win a national championship, you have to have the deep ball be effective at least once or twice a game. At the very least, the defense has to respect it. Travis, Tyleek injury update. We'll hear from Patrick on that. I don't have any update for you on that. Well, I'm curious what the coaches and players said about that. Oh, right on time. Patrick Murphy, how you doing, buddy?
I'm here. It's better than it could have been, I guess. Sorry, I forgot my headphones, and they've got somebody blowing trash off the field, so it's a little loud, but I will do my best here. Hopefully you can see me all right because the service is not fantastic.
You sound great, and we can see you. I love seeing the backdrop of Beaver Stadium, especially after a win, and we can hear you fine. I hope you can hear us. First thing, we've had a lot of people ask before we get to everything else, anything on Tyleek Williams from post-game interviews?
No, Ryan mentioned that it happened, but there was just kind of so much going on. He did not get asked about it. I didn't even see Tyleek come out of the medical tent. Now, I had to come down from the press box to the field at the end or in the fourth quarter, so maybe he came out during that time. But no update there. Obviously, he needed help getting off the field. I don't know if they showed it on TV, but it did not look like he was feeling great after that play.
So do we think? I'm asking you to spitball. Do we think it might be kind of serious, or?
I don't.
I know it's hard to say.
Yeah, tough to say. I mean, look, we've seen guys need help if it's an ankle or something that was just painful. I didn't even see a replay of the play, so it was hard to tell. It didn't seem to me like a week ago with Zen Mikowski where he just couldn't put weight on a leg. It seemed like he just needed some help because he was in pain, but I'm certainly no doctor.
So Carson Hinsman's 8-game suspension ended today. I've been joking about that. I don't even know if that's a joke, really. But, seriously, it's one of the strangest things that I've seen where a guy starts 12 games as a redshirt freshman and basically just goes into hiding for 8 games, including the secret suspension in the Cotton Bowl. What'd you make of the way he played today? What'd you make of the way Donovan Jackson played today? And just overall, this offensive line seemed to control the line of scrimmage for the most part against a good Penn State defensive line.
Yeah, we talked to Carson.
Oh, don't cut out on me now. I want to hear this. We talked to Carson. You might just need to text me. I'll put no. Go ahead.
All right. The last few months have been pretty tough for him. It's not the way he expected things to go coming out of last season, but he stayed true to his beliefs and kept working, obviously, and was happy to be able to contribute today. I thought he played well. Ryan Day said, you didn't notice him, and he meant that as a good thing. And I think that was pretty evident. And Donovan Jackson, he gave up 2 sacks, but he's going against one of the better defensive ends in the country. I thought for the most part he held up well. And look, that last drive to ice the game is about as impressive as this offensive line has been. To allow them to get off of the inside. I don't know I don't know how great you feel going forward individually, but I think this was a positive start, and you're probably not going to see a defensive line as good as this, at least until you get either to the Big Ten championship game or the playoff, and you'll have time to figure things out. I will say Ryan Day said they went with Carson and Donovan because they wanted experience today coming in here. So I don't know if he meant to leave the door open to potential future changes, but that is kind of the way I read it. But if they play the way they did today each week, I think they can continue to build on things, and I don't know why you would change much if this keeps building.
Jim Knowles got a lot of heat after the Oregon game. I tell you what, and Penn State's offensive coordinator has been getting a lot of love. Jim Knowles, his defense played great. Did not give up a touchdown, gave up 2 field goals. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, to look at the way that they played against Oregon, where you give up those 2 big plays, obviously 32 points. I think and I've said this a couple times, I think to you on here or other shows we've done, there were positives defensively in that second half against Oregon. The goal line stand, holding them to the field goal late there to allow the opportunity to win the game. And I think you saw that again today. And look, Penn State, I know this has been Ohio State's game to win the last 8 seasons. We'll see what Penn State does the rest of the year. This is obviously was their biggest test. But as you mentioned, their offensive coordinator, I've just been calling him Coach K because I can't pronounce that last name. Some innovative stuff.
I think Kolawicki.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Jim
but
Knowles'
they've done some innovative stuff.
Is he Jim Knowles' son?
Yeah, right. They've done some innovative stuff. They got away with some of it today, but I think for the most part, you're right. Jim Knowles had his defense ready. The defensive line, it took a while, but they did get a sack eventually when JT and I think it was Kenyatta got there right after Cody Simon came on that blitz and got home. So perfect? No. Does it need to continue to get better? Yes, but you needed to win this game. It didn't matter how you did it. And the defense, because the offense couldn't finish drives, this was on the defense to win there at the end, and they held up their end of the bargain.
Now, I'd love to keep you for a long time, but Steve, you're like a one-man band because Steve is pretending to be sick. He's pretending to have COVID. I'm kidding. I hope Steve feels better.
He wanted to come.
He did. I know.
He texted me and said, if you don't care, and I was like, Steve, just stay home. I got this. We'll be fine. Yeah,
he told me because with your fiance being a nurse, probably a good idea that you didn't get it, pass it to her, and she passes it to maybe So, yeah, I'm joking with Steve. Steve, if he had you name it, would want to go. But for him to miss a game takes a lot. It takes him to have COVID. But what else stood out from post-game interviews? Anything Coach Day said? Any of the other coaches, players? Give us kind of a quick synopsis on interviews, anything interesting that came out of there.
I will say this. The end of the game, when they get that last snap, win the game, I don't know if I've ever seen the Buckeyes more fired up for at least a regular season win. And that includes games against Michigan. This end zone right behind me, they came down, the Ohio State fans were up there. And I mean, these guys I've got a video of that, and it's got Carmen, Ohio, and it's got the guys walking up the tunnel, and they are fired up. There may be some F-bombs in there, so be forewarned if you go and watch that. It'll be on YouTube here shortly too. But I seriously, as Will Howard came walking up the tunnel, he grabbed 2 of I think they were the GAs, big hugs. Again, more obscenities there. I didn't get that one on tape, which is probably good. But as fired up as I've seen this team, we talked with Will Howard. He said he played probably his worst game of the season in this game, and credited the rest of his teammates for picking him up and getting this win. But his response, I think, was important. I asked Coach Day about that, and he said that there was a look in Will Howard's eyes all week that he was not going to come back to his home state, to the school that didn't want him, and lose this game. And I think you saw that. Yes, 2 big mistakes. The interception, not a good play. The fumble, I probably give a little bit more credit to the defensive end, or the defensive player who knocked it out, but Will's got to be better there. But it didn't ever look like he was rattled by any of that, rattled by the environment here, all that. So credit to him. I already talked to you about Carson Hinsman and JT Tuimalau. We also talked to said, that goal line stand was just all about us, I believe is what he said. It didn't matter what stuff Penn State was going to run, who was in the backfield. It was about them stepping up and getting the stop, and they did that. And, maybe though that 4 plays there, if Penn State scores, that changes things quite a bit. And you can point to a lot of plays that made a big difference. Oh, and Davison Igbinosun, we talked to him. He is not a man of many words, but he said he knew he had the interception. He was like, I just kept telling him. He was like, as soon as they went to review, I knew we were getting it. So
yeah. He's a man of few words off the field.
Yes, excellent.
On the field, he's a man of many, many words. Yeah. I love that because he's been the, and I understand why he's been the recipient of the ire of many Ohio State fans. But man, that was a great play today. Yeah, Will Hart. Go ahead.
I was sitting next to our Penn State writers and in the press box, and one of the guys after the interception said, "Didn't you tell me this week that he's kind of been struggling and fans have been on him?" And I was like, "Yep, yeah, I wasn't lying. Like I didn't make that up."
They're like, "Okay, you're an operative, aren't you?"
I will.
I think people at Beaver Stadium had too much of Patrick Murphy talking good about Ohio State. No, we still have Patrick. Finish your thoughts, sir.
Yeah, just I'd recommend. I always think you should go back and watch the videos, but especially today, I thought they were really good. And again, the ones of them celebrating on the field, which will be the Carmen, Ohio video. I think Buckeye fans will like that one a lot.
Get on our YouTube page. You guys, most of you are already on there. Watch those videos that Patrick has posted. Great stuff. One-man band there in Happy Valley. I appreciate it, Patrick. Great stuff, man. He is Patrick Murphy. Love hearing from Patrick. He hung tight there with the internet going in and out. Overall, not bad. Oregon scores a touchdown. They go up 13-7 over Michigan. Early second quarter, Pat pending. So it looks like Oregon's going to go up 14-7 at Michigan. Early second quarter. Just couldn't be more happy about this Ohio State game. And like I said, it's not just that they beat Penn State, which is always a big one, especially this Penn State team. Ryan Day getting that, can't beat a top 5 team off his back, at least helps the record. It's not like he's never beaten a top 5 team, but now helps the record out. Now his 3rd win over a top 5 team. Absolutely huge. But what really, really it makes me excited about the rest of the season is like now some of the things I was really worried about, I'm not as worried about. Now, do we know for sure the offensive line is fixed? No, we don't. This is a heck of a good step in the right direction. And I agree with those of you that have said, like, listen, like, they're not going to change things. They might say they're going to. After this performance, you're not going to change things. This offensive line, that's your offensive line going forward, as it should be. Donnie on the left side, Carson Hinsman at left guard, obviously Seth, who's been great at center, Tegra, and maybe Austin mixing in. I thought Tegra played well today, though. And then, Josh Fryer. Those are the guys. I love that. And, so we saw that, Carson Hinsman's 8-game suspension was lifted today and just in time for the November stretch of the season. As Jim Tressel always said, I don't think he invented it, but he made it famous, at least in my book. September's for pretenders, November's for contenders. Mike S. on YouTube, great job versus their tight end, Warren. I agree. He was going to get his. He led them in rushing. That's not good, though, if you're Penn State. If your tight end leads you in rushing. I love that guy. He's gonna be one of those guys that plays in the NFL for 15 years. Like, someone should just draft him in the first round. Unless he has a catastrophic injury, he's going to be a really good NFL player for years. They did, though. They did a good job containing him. So Tyler Warren, again, he was their leading rusher, tight end. Now he does line up at quarterback sometimes. It's still not good if your tight end is your leading rusher. Katron Allen, 12 carries, 27 yards. Singleton, 6 carries, 15 yards. Tyler Warren, 3 carries, 47 yards. But receiving, Tyler Warren, 4 receptions for 47 yards. Typically a good game for a tight end, 4 receptions for 47 yards. This is a guy that had 17 receptions against USC. 17 receptions. He's a stud, and every bit of 6'6", 250 pounds, moves well. And he didn't just have 17 receptions against USC. I just had to look this up. He had 224 yards receiving in that game. Plus, I'm sure he did rushing and everything. I'm sure he had rushing yards in that game. Didn't rush much. He only had one rush for 4 yards against USC, but 17 receptions for 224 yards in their overtime win at USC. Buckeyes contain him. So, yeah, very good point there. Travis is looking forward to the rematch against Oregon. It's going to happen. And Steve needs to just go ahead and make those reservations for St. Elmo. You know, he didn't say he might make them. He said, if they beat Penn State, I will make reservations for us at St. Elmo. So get on that, Steve. While you're sitting at home pretending to have COVID. I'm kidding. I should stop saying that. He actually has COVID. Cameron on YouTube. No one talks about Seth in the middle. He is solid. I talk about him a lot. He's a rock. I absolutely love Seth McLaughlin. I don't mind you bringing him up, Cameron, because we can't talk about Seth McLaughlin enough. He's an absolute rock. Michael, love to see Howard use his legs. Agreed. He did a great job with that. Let's look at the final rushing stats for Big Willie style. Despite the fact that sacks somehow count against your rushing yards, they need to do away with that. They need to adopt the NFL rule. So 12 carries for 24 yards. That doesn't do it justice, though, for Will Howard. 12 carries for 24 yards. Ohio State's running backs just ran the ball well and hard. Quinshawn Judkins, 14 carries, 95 yards. And was breaking tackles. I was saying he wasn't breaking enough tackles. Well, let me eat my words. He was breaking tackles today. Travion came in there with fresh legs, looking good, 10 carries for 54 yards. Travion also had a 20-yard reception. Great job by Ohio State's running backs today. Great job. And it all stems from the offensive line. Dorita Pippin on Facebook. Great play on both sides of the ball. That last drive that started at the 1-yard line was so important for the Buckeyes. Exactly. That was like, if you're trying to say we're going to be stout on both sides of the ball in the line of scrimmage, you get a goal line stand late in the fourth quarter when you're up by 7, get the ball at the 1. Now your offense has to keep, play a little keep away. Oh, well, they do that and then some. Boom, boom, boom. 4 first downs. You're kind of thinking if they get 2 first downs, punt it away, they're probably okay up 7. The Buckeyes left nothing to chance. Boom. And really, Will Howard on that last run could have ran in for a touchdown if he wanted to and got down wisely and game over. So both sides of the ball stepped up and beat Penn State on the line of scrimmage. It's no secret. These big games are won in the trenches, as today's was. Great job by Ohio State on both sides of the ball in that respect. I feel good for Ryan Day too. I like Ryan Day. And I understand the criticisms that people have, but I always believed in him. I still believe in him. I just feel good for him. I feel good for everybody that's a Buckeye fan. I feel good for all the players, everybody involved. All of you, I feel good for, but I feel good for Ryan Day specifically as well. I just want to say that because I feel like he's been some of it's been his own doing. He's also been the recipient of bad luck. That Clemson game in 2019, come on. We all know that was BS. Ohio State clearly had a touchdown that was called a touchdown on the field. Justin Ross took 3 steps with the ball, never moves, knocked out of his hand, fumble, touchdown, returned, game over basically. And then they call that back. Ridiculous. He's just had, and then same thing with Marvin in the Peach Bowl. But he's got to prove it though. He's got to, as he says, leave no doubt. Well, they left no doubt today. I feel good for Ryan Day. Still a long way to go, but now everything, even if they would have won the Oregon game, they'd be in the exact same situation they are right now. Exact same situation. So they're going, if they win out, which they will, in my opinion, they're going to beat Purdue, Northwestern, Indiana, and Michigan. They're going to play Oregon in the Big Ten championship game in a rematch. We'll be going to St. Elmo the night before. Steve Helwagen, if you're listening, make the reservations now. And we're going to be there for that game. So everything, the Oregon game losing by 1 point on the road to the number 1 team in the nation, number 1 now. None of us were very happy about that, but now, Ohio State takes care of business. They're going to be exactly where they want to be. And if they're able to beat Oregon in the Big Ten championship game in a rematch, then it'll be like that game never even happened in Eugene. Because why? Because Ohio State then will be the number 1 seed. It wouldn't matter if they were 12-1 or 13-0. If their one loss is to Oregon on the road, by 1 point, nobody else is undefeated. Ohio State then at 12-1, with then beating Oregon again, would then be your number 1 seed. Maybe number 2 if Georgia wins out. Maybe at the worst. So at the very worst, they'd be the number 2 seed, probably number 1 seed with a bye. So they'd be exactly where they want to be. Gary on Facebook, Cody Simon is playing at a high level. Defense overall played well, he said. But Cody Simon has definitely stepped up his game. I agree. I thought he was a weakness, and they talked him up all offseason. He missed the first game. Like, maybe he's just kind of getting back. Against Oregon, I thought he maybe, I'm thinking, oh, man, you can't have a starting middle linebacker that's your weakness and be a national champion. Does he have to be Dick Butkus? Doesn't have to be. It'd be nice. But, you can't have your middle linebacker be a weakness and think you're going to be a national championship team. Well, Cody Simon's not a weakness. He played great last week, and he played great today. And I love seeing that. Number 0, block O, and he's a heck of a leader. That was never in dispute. Great young man when you talk to him. And you see why the coaches have talked him up, why James Laurinaitis talked him up all offseason during camp. Cody Simon's stepping up now. So, it's a relief. Even though he didn't play great today, it's a relief that Lathan Ransom only missed one game, because it sounded like he was going to miss at least multiple weeks. So I was just hoping to get him back by Indiana, Michigan, or even the postseason, as long as he was completely healthy. So that's good news to get Lathan Ransom back. We shall see on Tyleik Williams. I will say, from what Patrick said, typically if it's season ending, we kind of have an inkling that it is. We're not getting that yet. So hopefully it's not season ending with Tyleik, and it's something where the very worst, he'll miss a few weeks and we'll be back for the stretch run. Hopefully. Because they could use their JV and win these next 2 games. Trust me. Purdue and Northwestern are the 2 worst teams in the Big Ten this year. So, but hopefully they need Tyleik. As great as Caden McDonald is, we've been talking up Caden McDonald on the Bucknuts Morning 5 and on all of our shows and all of our stories throughout the offseason and into the season. Still, though, depth is important. What if all of a sudden Caden McDonald gets hurt? Then you really don't have a one tech. So having both those guys would be huge. Having Tyleik Williams and Caden McDonald. Caden McDonald, I think, is maybe finally proven to Larry Johnson he needs to play a lot, because he just was out there in there just wrecking the line of scrimmage. So, which he typically does. So great win for Ohio State. All right, we will wrap it up now. I appreciate all of you for tuning into the show. You're all on cloud 9 right now, as you should be. And we got 4 more games this month. And we got the Big Ten championship game then first Saturday of December, and then the playoffs after that. Great win for Ohio State. Great win, 20-13 at Penn State. Get down 10-0. Things are looking not great, and then Buckeyes dominate from there. 20-3 run from there. And, really could have scored late if they really, really wanted to. That would have been dumb. Just get down, end the game. But dominated both lines of scrimmage, at least won the battle. Dominated for a good portion of the game on both sides, but, won the battle of the line of scrimmage on both sides. I think they found their answer on the offensive line, which is the biggest thing that we learned. And great win for Ohio State. Thank you to J-Book. Thank you to Steve Helwagen for playing 6. Steve, I hope you feel better. And thanks to Patrick Murphy, our one-man band in Beaver Stadium in Happy Valley at Beaver Stadium. So thanks to J-Book. Thanks to Steve. Thanks to Pat. Thanks to all of you. Hope everyone has a great day and a great rest of your weekend. Go Bucks.